Welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to teach women like you tips and strategies on how you can have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. I can't wait to chat with you. I was browsing online a little while ago, and I came across this quote that hit so close to home. It was like somebody had literally just punched me in the face to get me to pay attention to this. The quote was, "I'm fine." The lie slipped so effortlessly through her lips. After all, she was used to it. But it never failed to surprise her how easily people believed in it. I don't have a source, but whoever wrote this nailed it so hard. I mean, how much can you relate to that? I can really relate to that. How many times have you been struggling, suffering through something that life has thrown at you? Your high-risk pregnancy, fertility treatment, a loss in the family, a loss of your job, stress with family. I mean, name it, right? And somebody asked you, "Hey, how's it going?" And you can hear the words coming out and your head is going, "Nope, you're not fine at all. You're flat out lying to this person right now," but you can't stop it. That's what you say. I have been in that situation so many times when I was going through my fertility treatment, when I experienced a loss. Okay, if you've listened to previous episodes, you know that I lost our first due to a ruptured ectopic, which is basically one of the most dangerous ways to actually lose a baby. And I remember a couple of weeks after the surgery, because they had to go in and remove the left tube and remove the pregnancy and close everything up and stop the bleeding and all that. A couple of weeks after, a friend came by to visit. And, I was still recovering. The recovery from that surgery actually took a long time. And I was able to walk upright by then, but I was really weak still because I'd lost a lot of blood. And I was really anemic and I was walking slowly and I still wasn't allowed to go back to work yet. And she came in and she asked me, "How are you doing?" And I told her I was fine. And she believed it. "Good. I'm glad you're doing better. I'm glad you're doing well." How many times has that conversation happened with you where you are looking for connection, you're looking for support, you're looking for somebody to reach out and hug you, reach out and offer help, reach out and tell you that they're there for you? But that conversation goes completely wrong because they're asking you how you are, you lie to them, and they believe it. And it just makes me stop and think, why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves? Because on the one hand, if we lie, how can we expect anybody to read our minds? I mean, the way that I had been feeling, through my fertility treatment or through my high-risk pregnancy or when my son was in the NICU for months or the whole postpartum period afterwards when I was struggling with him on lockdown and all his appointments and then my own health issues. I mean, if you were perceptive and you looked at my face, you would know that I was lying. But most people aren't that perceptive because we want to believe that everybody's okay. And the same thing is true for ourselves. We want to believe that we're okay, but why do we do that? How does it help us to lie? And the truth of the matter is, do you really want to be fine? I don't. I'd rather be happy. I'd rather be healthy. I'd rather be excited. I'd rather be content even. I don't want to be fine. And yet somehow that's the lie that comes out. And somehow that's the lie that's believed. But the reality is telling yourself that you're fine doesn't actually make you fine. You know that. I know that. What really matters is that you give yourself permission to not be fine. Because by being honest with yourself, that is the only way that you're going to get the support that you need. And that support can be anything, right? It can be anything from a hug from your partner to a call with your best friend to just having more time to sleep, to having time to be alone, to decompress what's going on, to reaching out to a professional to turn things around quickly. Whatever that support is that you need, the only way to get it is to be honest with yourself. I had a client who came to me after a long battle of fineness. Okay, she was a chronic I'm finer, right? That was just her style. I'm fine. I'm fine. And what she would do is she also went through rounds and rounds of fertility treatment. She also experienced many losses prior to getting pregnant. And then she had a high-risk pregnancy where she was having preterm contractions among one or two other complications. And what she noticed, once we started working together and we kind of looked at what was going on for her, what she noticed was a pattern that anytime somebody would ask her, how are you doing? Especially people who knew about the complications she was dealing with. They'd ask her, how are you doing? She'd say, I'm fine. They'd believe her. And what that would do is it would cause more stress to her because one, she wasn't getting the support that she wanted. Because how could she? She was lying and people were believing her. Number two was that she was feeling like she had to swallow her difficulties and kind of put them on her own shoulders. So that stress was sitting in her body on top of feeling unsupported and feeling isolated. And you know what those two things did? When you have that much stress in your body, you know what it does? It makes you contract. And so she would have a spike in preterm contractions. And she'd be sitting there at work or at home contracting. And that would make her feel even worse. Then the thoughts would start going, what the hell's wrong with my body? Why can't I manage this? Why is this so hard? Like, why won't I stop contracting? Why can't my uterus just calm down? Why is this so hard? And that made her mood plummet. And it was this cycle that she was stuck in. And she'd be feeling horrible. Her husband would come back home or, a friend would reach out. Her mom would reach out. How are you doing? I'm fine. Kick that cycle off again and again and again. And she finally reached out to me, not because she realized she should stop saying she's fine, right? That's not at all why, but because one day when she was in that loop and she had told somebody she was fine, and that caused more stress on her body because she felt misunderstood, not supported, isolated, which then started the contractions, which caused these horrible thoughts to cross her mind about what could happen to her and her baby. And those thoughts really scared her. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is not me. I don't think like this. I am a successful professional career woman. I am a strong woman. I have my stuff together. I can't be thinking like this. What is wrong with me? And that's what inspired her to contact me, because she knew that if she was having thoughts like that, she needed help. What she didn't realize, though, when she first reached out to me, she thought we were just going to work on her thoughts and say, hey, how are we going to get you to stop thinking these horrible things about what could happen to you and your baby? But that's not the goal. The goal is we got to stop your contractions, right? The way I work with women, it's not just to help you feel better, though it is extremely important that you have your mood up and you're feeling calm and hopeful and all of that. But it's to help you stay pregnant. It doesn't matter if you're feeling happy, if you're still having contractions, we haven't done the work yet. Right? So that was the ultimate goal, is how do we stop the contractions? And as we worked backwards, we realized how the contractions were being triggered. She was carrying this load on her back. She was carrying the stress and the tension in her body. And many times it was incited by lying to the person who was asking her how she's doing. I know for me, there are times when I'm so overwhelmed with life that I just want somebody to call me out on it and say, I know you're not fine. And if that is you right now, consider this me lovingly calling you out. I know you're not fine. How can you be fine when you're dealing with what you're dealing with? Infertility, loss, high-risk pregnancy, bed rest, prematurity, healing after it's all over, plus everything else that life is throwing at you. How can you be fine? It's okay to not be fine. But you know what? That permission has to come from you. Because the reality is, telling yourself that you're fine doesn't actually make you fine. This is not one of those fake it till you make it situations, because your body won't lie to you about this. It's okay to not be fine. Be honest with yourself so you can get the support that you need. And that support can be anything. Anything. It doesn't have to be professional support. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But you've got to remember that telling yourself you're fine doesn't actually make you fine. The truth sits in your body. I saw something on Instagram recently. I wish I had it pulled up so I could read it directly to you, but it was something along the lines of, your body always journals the truth no matter what you write down. And that is what the story of my client was. And that is what the story for myself is, and for you. Your body is holding on to the truth. And so telling yourself you're fine doesn't make that true, especially if your body's holding on to the stress that comes from lying. And I say this very lovingly. And I say this as somebody who does this, okay? So I fully understand. There's absolutely no judgment here. But this passion is coming from this place of, you deserve better. You deserve better. You deserve more support. You deserve to get through this phase of your life and every phase after without having to lie. You deserve to get the support that you need from your partner, from your family, from your friends, from your community, from a professional if you need it. But it's not possible as long as you keep lying. And I can speak from personal experience. And I can speak on behalf of the client that I just told you about. For as long as she said, I'm fine, she was stuck in that cycle every single time, like clockwork. And what we needed to do was when she was really pointing out to her how this is affecting her pregnancy. That is what changed it for her. When she realized that what she was going through and what she was doing by lying, by isolating herself, and by taking on that stress of that isolation because she was telling people she was fine, and how that was so directly connected to her preterm contractions, that's when the cycle changed for her. But you know how it changed? She had to give herself permission to tell the truth. And when she could do that, everything changed for her. Now, that doesn't mean that she started telling everyone on the street how horrible she was feeling that day and what a terrible day she was having. No way. No way. I'm totally not saying that. I'm a very private person myself. I don't tell everybody exactly how I'm feeling. And that's okay. You don't have to. But you've got to start with being honest with yourself. If you can't be honest with yourself, you'll never be able to be honest with anyone else. And I really, truly, I say that with so much love, and I say that with so much empathy because I've so been there. I have been an I'm finer for much of my life until very recently when I realized I have to stop it because it's hurting me over everybody else. And if it's hurting me, then it's hurting everybody around me. And so I had to really get to a place where I believed telling yourself you're fine doesn't actually make you fine. Telling myself I'm fine doesn't actually make me fine. And not being fine is okay, because when I'm honest with myself, when you're honest with yourself, you can get the support that you need, whatever that support might be. And so I could give you all kinds of ways and tips and strategies on how to reach out to people, what scripts to say, what to say to people, how to get comfortable in those situations. But I'll be really honest with you. None of that is necessarily helpful until you give yourself permission to not be fine. You've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to tell yourself, it's okay that I'm not fine. I'm actually, overwhelmed, exhausted, overrun, burned out, frustrated, angry, sick of it, over it, alone, lonely. What is that? What are you feeling actually right now? If you were to take some kind of truth serum and somebody asked you, how are you? What is the real answer? And I'll tell you that for many, trying this is going to be really hard. Because we're so used to lying. We're so used to telling ourselves, I'm fine, I'm okay. And really trying to believe it, that it's like a broken record that we don't even realize is a broken record. We start to feel like it's real, that like clockwork, when someone asks how you're doing, you say, I'm fine. And you don't even question it. It's like a habit. And the best way to break that habit is to recognize that you're holding on to a judgment about what it means to not be fine. What does it mean if you're not fine? You're weak? You're pathetic? You're a terrible person? You're a horrible mother? What is it? What does it mean if you're not fine? And once you figure that out, then why are you holding on to that script? What's the truth behind that? Are you really a horrible mother? I bet I can come up with 10 reasons why you're not a horrible mother, and I can't even see you. Why are you so sure that this judgment is the truth? Why is it so important to hold on to that judgment? Because when you figure that out, it's like fine just drops out of your vocabulary. It happened to me. It totally worked for me. Once I did this work, once I dug deep and figured out, what does it mean if I say I'm fine, if I say I'm not fine, if I tell the truth, if I actually am honest with myself, what does it mean about me? What is that judgment I'm holding on to? You know what it was for me? It was that I was weak, that I wasn't strong, and that I wasn't as strong as other people thought I was. And that they'd be disappointed, that they'd feel like, oh, wow, we put our faith in somebody who's really kind of lame. Is that actually how they feel? No. At least the people who are closest to me, if I really step back and think about it, and once I laid it out and looked at it, it kind of made me laugh. Like, oh my gosh, really? This is what's holding me from being honest? No way. I can handpick a handful of people in my life who would never in a million years ever think that about me. Ever. Never. Even if I was on the floor, which actually they've seen, even if I, on the floor sobbing uncontrollably or completely broken down, which they've seen, okay, and still they didn't think this about me. So why am I lying to them? And you know what happened once I figured that out? Then those handful of people I've been able to be honest with. And I can recognize it now. It's not that it's perfect, right? There was a moment I had with one of my closest friends the other day, and I was having a really hard week. And she asked me, how are you doing? And she knew that I was having a hard week because we were texting back and forth, but we finally got on the phone with each other. How are you doing? And I started saying it. And I think I even said it. I'm fine. And I stopped myself immediately. It goes, nope. I'm not lying to you. I'm not fine. And I just went into this whole thing about how I've had such a hard week and how hard everything feels and how overwhelmed I am. And it felt good. It felt good because I knew that there's no way she's judging me, and I have stopped judging me. I'm no different because I'm being honest. And that's the same thing for you. You are still strong and capable and amazing and incredible and an inspiration, even if you're not fine. Giving yourself permission to not be fine is what is going to open up the world for you. And what it also means is, especially if you're pregnant, it's going to release a tremendous amount of stress from your body, which is critical if you're having preterm contractions, any kind of hypertension, high sugar levels, you're not sleeping well, whatever is going on, it is extremely important, especially during pregnancy. Because the truth is, telling yourself you're fine doesn't actually make you fine. But you've got to be honest with yourself so you can get the support that you need. And that support can be anything. It can be going to get ice cream by yourself. It can be a foot rub from your partner. It can be watching a movie with your girlfriends. It can be getting a massage. It can be reaching out for professional support or anything in between. But you've got to be honest with yourself first. Otherwise, it gets stuck right there. I know it's hard. That judgment is there to try to tell you you've got to stay okay because you've got to protect yourself. And I'll even acknowledge here too that one of the reasons why we say this, I know I do, is because I don't want to hear the super unhelpful comments that people have if I tell them the truth of how I'm feeling. I totally get that. And if that's you, I mean, I'm sure you've heard all kinds of things, right? That's why you've got to handpick the people that you're not going to lie to. And then for the people who you don't feel comfortable telling the truth to, that's fine, but don't lie. Don't say I'm fine. Then be honest. Say, I'm having a hard week, but I'm okay. I'm having a hard week, but I know I'll be okay. That's true. And then let them think what they want to think. They'll probably respond with, well, great job. Hang in there. And some other kind of hallmarky response, which is fine. Right? But you've got to get out of the habit of lying. Because that's when it's going to open up for you to get the support that you need from the people that you need it from the most. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you enjoyed today's episode, I know I did. I needed this message. I need this reminder frequently. And so I hope you heard what you needed as well. And if you enjoyed it, I'd love if you can head over to iTunes and leave a review so more and more women who are struggling physically and emotionally through a high-risk pregnancy or the postpartum period afterwards can tune into Delivering Miracles for inspiration, tips, and motivation on how to get through this phase of life. And if you're going through a high-risk pregnancy, and if you're feeling down, if you're feeling stressed and anxious and you're worried and scared that you're going to deliver too early, we need to talk because it doesn't have to be that way. And there are very simple, very small changes that make a powerful difference in the way that your pregnancy progresses. So schedule a complimentary consultation so we can review exactly what you need to do to have a healthier high-risk pregnancy, no matter what complications you're facing. And you can do that. You can schedule your free call at parijatdeshpande.com. That's my website, parijatdeshpande.com. Also, I would love to stay in touch, so follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at parijatdesh. That's PARIJATDESH. You're doing the best that you can. That is the 100% truth that nobody can deny. You really are. And this is a really challenging time. So give yourself a break. Give yourself permission to not be okay sometimes. Because that's how you're going to get the help and support that you need from the people that you need it from the most. You are strong. You are wonderful. You are an amazing mother. You are an inspiration to so many around you, even if you're not fine. Take it one day, one step at a time. You can do this.